Well, welcome back to the channel. We have finally left the shop and hit the road, and we are on a delivery mission.
The delivery is to my brother in Wyoming. He's building a 1968 Camaro Classic car, and he found parts at a distributor in Huntington Beach, California, but it cost him more to ship the parts than it did to buy the parts, and so he wanted to know if I would bring them with me. And this was conceptually good until I found out that it included car hood, a fender, a bumper, a windshield, and a couple of other not quite as obtrusive parts. But it was a bit of a challenge just trying to find a place to put them.
But he did it, and we made it, and Mike has his part. In this video, we are going to show you our route. We're going to show you our camping areas that we went to. And even though this is a well-worn route, we've done this trip many times, all the way from California through Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and then Wyoming, we had a couple surprises.
Surprise number one was kind of unexpected. I have two fuel tanks on the truck. My 38-gallon fuel tank for the engine is the standard one, and I added a 15-gallon fuel tank for the diesel heaters. And I put a fuel pump in between the two so that we can stretch our driving as far as humanly possible in order to try and find the best fuel prices and not suffer from fuel anxiety. But in this case, I was transferring fuel from the auxiliary tank to the main tank, and we stopped at a rest stop, and Cheryl immediately smelled diesel fuel. And I said, oh crap, I had this transfer fuel hose worn through before, and I figured that's what happened again. And so I said, well, I just won't transfer any more fuel, and I'll deal with it later.
After being on the road for a couple days and enjoying some camping, we actually landed in Grand Junction, where we had a couple projects to work on. We were there for a short time. While we were there, we mooch stocked at my sister's, which always works out really well. Thank you, Shelly, if you're watching. And from there, we headed on to Wyoming, where we encountered surprise number 2.
Surprise number 2 was unexpected and unpleasant, as was surprise number 1. As we were going through the hills of northern Colorado, climbing a hill, I had all of a sudden a boom and a whoosh, which I knew pretty much immediately that it was my turbo intercooler hose either coming off or bursting.
Who heard it first?
Cheryl heard it first. Yeah,
she's everything first.
She's the finder of lost things. She's the revealer of unpleasant truths. Yeah. At any rate, so we pulled over and stopped, and I'd known that this coupling hose had been cut off before I even bought the truck, and so I reattached it, and we got back on the road again. I wasn't terribly confident that it was going to remain attached, although it wasn't that much worse than it was when it has been for years, but climbing another hill, it started leaking again. It never came completely off. It's only started leaking. They started to tear the hose, so it started leaking again, so I got out and put it back on again. The next time it came off, and then it came off again. And I just finally said, well, I think we're through most of the hills, and we'll just manage to get in the last 60 or so miles to Rollins, and I'll fix it at my brother's. And so we just let it whistle, and it sounded like we had a leaf blower under the hood for about 60 miles.
And we dropped our miles per gallon in half.
Yeah, our fuel mileage typically shows between 11 and 12, and this time it was showing between 5.5 and 6.5.
Yes.
So that was a very rude awakening when fuel prices were so high.
But we made it. We got there.
We got there. So it's got a rubber hose that connects the two, and a little bit of the hose is kind of peaked up. So it's not undrivable, it's just noisy, but it actually just blows right on the back of the firewalls while you hear it.
39 degrees, 8 o'clock at night, Rollins, Wyoming, and we left 90-degree weather not too long ago. And I'm in flip-flops and Steve's in shorts.
Okay, it's a little hydronic heating system update. This is our first actual use of the hydronic system beyond our tests, and we discovered that with the short hops we were doing leaving California, driving every day, it was really nice to stop wherever we were stopping and have a tank full of hot water. We had hot water at lunchtime to wash dishes, and just always had hot water. It was very convenient, didn't have to work for it, just was there. And occasionally we've stopped for a couple of days and wanted hot water, so we've used the coolant heater to heat water, and that's worked very well. It takes 10 minutes from literally from start to tank full of 140-degree water. Very convenient, works quickly. We do happen to be in Wyoming, where the last couple of nights the temperature has been in the 20s. A couple of days ago it snowed several inches on us, so we've definitely seen some chilly weather and some freezing weather where it's a good opportunity to be testing a heater. One small surprise, well, not entirely a surprise, but one expectation is that the coolant system in the engine, the coolant system in the camper would remain at their equal levels, despite the fact that I don't have an absolute control over them. In one place I only put one valve in the cabin heat system, and I absolutely needed two, and I've decided I absolutely do need the second one because I've seen migration of coolant going from the cabin heat system into the coolant bottle in the engine starts to slowly creep up. Literally, this is a matter of a quart of coolant over a week and a half, but it will continue, and I want to make sure that it doesn't continue. So another $35 motorized bell valve and a couple fittings, and we'll be done.
All right, so what was our engine problem we had on the drive into Wyoming?
So this is a turbocharger intercooler coupler. The turbocharger goes on here, and then the pipe to the intercooler goes on here, and so these are both clamped on here with a heavy steel clamp, and this one looks like it had previously failed and been cut shorter and reattached prior to my owning the truck, but it boost pressure inside this is 20 to 25 pounds per square inch of that large diameter, so it tore it loose and pushed it out from underneath the clamp, and so we had what sounded like a leaf blower running underneath the truck. And I tried twice on the road to restore it, to put it back on and clamp it down, and the first time it held until the boost got to about 20 when we were climbing a hill, and it popped off. I put it back on a second time. I thought it was better. It wasn't. That one popped off at about 15, and so I just left it whistling and leaking like this for the next 60 or 70 miles.
60 miles.
And
mostly flat.
And the most boost pressure we could build was about 11 psi, which it was interesting. Our fuel mileage went from about 11 to about 6.5 miles per gallon without that turbo boost.
Tightened this vent line here, and that must have been where it came out, because I can't make it leak now.
Happy to be in Wyoming. We are here for several days.
We're doing some house projects for my brother and my mom. We're doing some car projects. We're doing some Maximus repair and improvement projects. Always got projects to do. And then by the end of the week, we're going to be heading off to our property in Idaho.
Yes. So we'll make the trek to Idaho, and we'll be there for a little while as well. But we will keep you updated on our progress and our routes and any new camping finds that we find along the way.
And that's all I got to say about that.
No. Okay. What am I doing? Staring at you and Mr. Cooper, poor Cooper. But he's actually learned that he can be comfortable under the bed while Steve actually attacks and puts the stairs down on top of him. And
As long as I don't drop anything on him.
yeah. Well, the stairs protect him from that.
I dropped a screw on it the other day.
Did he jump?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Just looked annoyed.
Yeah, I would too.